not cross that bitch. All right. Ready? Yeah.
Oh.
We're just changing things up, you know, keeping you on your toes. Just, you know, the way you do when you get arrested for the sex you have. Or not. All right, our next writer, performer, extraordinaire, superstar, occasional drunk person. And by occasional, we mean often. Will you please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, it's Cyril Tan.
Can you hear me at the back? Yeah! Not just let me know, okay? So how many of you here remember play bar and club at Tanjong Pagar? Yeah, well, whatever, it's gone. In my capacity as a freelance writer for 8 Days magazine, I write food reviews for them. Sometimes. I've had the misfortune of revisiting the place. It is now called the Shaven Cat. The innuendo is completely deliberate. It's a thoroughly unpleasant place, and so I had to review the place recently, and I went in, and it was very discouraging because it felt like I was walking through this place that, in a way, it was very formative for me as a gay person. And it looked like a graveyard. So the essay I'm going to read today is called We Could Have Danced All Night. It's about play, which some of you may know. It was a bar and club at Maxwell. And it recently closed down, so that's some context for those of you who've been living under a rock. We could have danced all night. The first time I saw strobe lights was at play. That's probably not true. But the first strobe lights I truly remember, green lasers that burn themselves into the back of my head, were at play. They backlit a man dancing in that way gay men dance. Beautifully, with self-conscious, unself-consciousness. I was entranced. It was before the club updated its light fixtures, back when it was dark and truly seedy, and all I could see was that shadowed mass dancing in his little hot spot like a jumped up green fairy, dancing for what seemed to be hours in my liquor judgment. It was probably only one song. I never saw his face, and in a blast of chemical haze from a cheap smoke machine, he was gone. In a similarly entrancing way, play, the gay club and bar has gone. A few weeks before it was shut down at its Tanjong Pagar Road premises, and saying this suggests that there will be another premises, there was a shocking social media announcement met by disbelieving, mournful hashtags. The space was most likely been ceded to an upscale restaurant, not true, one of several encroaching on the area from Tras, Duxton and Ansiang, that's true, that offered double or triple the rent. In a dignified manner, in Play's final weekends, those who cared snaked around it to pay tribute. Old hens and cocks turned up for one last claw scratch on that storied dance floor. The boys and girls chanted and perspired inappropriately to the end. The bar ran out of alcohol. The front of house nonetheless charged cover. The lights came on. And a week later, it was all gutted. Fetid queer trace elements flung out to compost in the seedy Tanjong Pagar streets. The first time I went to play, I didn't actually go in. I was driven past after work by some gay bosses of mine at a nearby cafe where I was part-timing as a cook. All I remember of that drive-by is seeing an attractive gay couple holding hands, walking on the streets right outside play. Right there, gazing smugly from the street as we drove past. It was a magnificent vision of gay nonchalance in the heyday of Teo Liang's parliamentary assaults on homosexuals. It's also the picture of what I've heard some activists say, or maybe it's just an echo of what was going through my mind at that very moment, about apathetic young gays who couldn't care less about oppression if they could party at then hot and trendy play and hold hands at Tanjong Bar. I was going through, obviously, an awkward phase at the time, where I was resignedly, occasionally even happily gay, but stayed chastely in my room, away from the influence of other gay men. As it turned out, the cafe I was working at was gay-friendly, but as a mark of protest or fear, I stayed in the kitchen for the most part, making mounds of tiramisu. It's quite pathetic. Wow. I drank my cocktails at home and watched lots of porn, thinking to myself that I didn't want to become one of those homosexuals, the kinds I saw with increasing frequency on the street, out and proud, tight-teed and beautiful, whose body language told me everything I knew about their sordid and prolific sex lives and aimless, oversaturated parties. That I actually went into play. It was my first year in university, and the curiosity had finally gotten the better of me. I was with a friend from school who would later become my best friend, and even then, as he was leading me through the maze of Chinatown streets, I was skeptical. When I first saw him in school, after all, he was coursing through the arts canteen with a bunch of obviously gay men in tight polo tees and shorts. He was wearing sunglasses. I was terrified. A gay bar is a snake pit, I had written precociously in a play around the time. We drank strong beers from the 7-Eleven. I was overly chatty, and we went in. We danced for a while, redeemed our drink coupons, made small talk with new friends, nodded politely. I fussed about my drink, stirring my jug of ice with my straw. Eventually, my friend left me alone on the dance floor. He got to smoke, I never knew he smoked, and for the first time, I stood about staring at men sucking face in real life. It was simultaneously hotly erotic, terrifying, and sad. For the first time, I saw myself in the light of other gay men, and felt, with my bad hair, unbridled chubbiness, and awkward shuffling, deeply, deeply unattractive. Whatever, I own it now, it's okay. It was then that I witnessed my phantasmagoric stroke-like vision. I was looking up from my unfabulousness towards the stage and saw him, my 21st century green fairy, shrouded in darkness, perfectly hemmed into his own skin, but dancing his inner gay light throughout the club and into the long iron iced tea party. Welcome to the rest of your life, he seemed to say, like a gay patron saint, willing everything around him to orgasm. Welcome to the rest of your life. I stood about undanced with, unsexy and unkissed on this night full of expectation. And I looked at him and felt a self-conscious mixture of envy, hatred, and homecoming. And then he was gone. Shortly after I left alone, drunk and some kind of happy, I'd be back again and again. Play became a go-to for my friends and I, mainly because we were young. And it was the young kids' gay club, no offense, etc. Sure, there were and are other clubs and bars, pop-up parties here and there, even a string of ridiculous Sunday night gay parties. But play was where you saw your avowedly straight friends from school tearing into their homosexuality as if eating a steak. Play was where you could entertain those teenage fantasies you weren't out in time to make real. Play was where the people in the leather-leggings, sequin bustiers, and astro-pink hair at Maxwell Market were headed after Mee-Pok, and we wanted to be where they were going. It was fun, it was boppy, and candy-coated. And there was something in the lights that was profoundly addictive, something in the strobes. At first, it was the way those unnatural colors, purple, blue, green, ushered us into a world outside the quotidian, into a different kind of closet, a fabulous one, where being yourself was both an earnest mantra and a kind of ironic performance. It was a world, a brand new world, within and outside of the one our homophobic parents had built on rock and roll. We built our queer little world with strobe life, K-pop, fuck gender, fuck men. It was all the liberation we needed. Surely that kind of dancing, surely that kind of transgressive intimacy, even for those short hours in the dark, was enough. The end point, the Pet Shop Boys of Western hinterland. But eventually every weekend began to feel like a continuation of last, stretching out into one long smear of spent nights and false highs. And then it wasn't so much an elaboration than identical groundhog Saturdays coming and going in circles, like the concentric circles of gay social life. Under the glare of the post-party Maxwell Market lights, we'd read the constellations of who'd slept with whom, who'd offended whom, who'd go home with whom, who'd share a cab with whom, and to return each weekend to hear the recitation again and again. My disillusionment came in drips. At first it was the canvassing for attention, the drawling conversations at the smoking point that meandered and skirted around the hurt. Then it was the desperate mechanical gyration. I saw it in others, then myself, dancing pointedly with an eye honed on the game and the taunting lyrics of those high priestesses of parties, Rihanna, Kish, can't pronounce her name, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Katy Perry, urging everyone towards some epiphany that never came. Because the lights would come on, and the unsuccessful fled like insects from the clarity. And then it was the touch of bodies, the way accidental brushes against taut arms and hard chests made me feel the inadequacy of my own flesh. Then it was the eyes, catching glances between beats, the way people looked through me, the way they only touched me to get a cut. My insecurity matured into bitterness, my loneliness into anger, and each week I swore I'd never come back. But still, there was something in the lights. Those strobes had a kind of magic. They seemed to point into another dimension when I was drunk. Like in a queer sci-fi way, they could pull someone or something out of the gay ether and make it real. I wanted them to pull out the unknown, unmet he who populated my emo poetry, the subjunctive lover I was told I would someday meet, the one who was out there, the guy who, in the counsel of an older gay man, was somewhere ripening to readiness for the day we'd finally meet. He was probably right there at play, dancing between beams of light. I needed to get drunk and dance in the dark to clear the slate for that encounter. I was drawn back to that podium night after night by the promise that I would one day put a face to that shadow dancing alone in the green threshold between here and when, finally give him a name, finally give him shoulders to hold and a mouth to kiss, yank him out of the lonely subjunctive into the here and now. But that never happened. I thought something must be wrong with everyone else in the club. Like they put up walls of flesh, blocked my second sight and karmic pathways. So I mentally checked out, said bye-bye, and left. Years later, after I met my boyfriend, I started to enjoy going back to play. I'd long abandoned emo poetry, and with it also went the phantasmagoric vision, the overheated drama. Play became just a club, one where, like at any other club, if I could ignore the people around me, get drunk and let loose, I would generally enjoy making a fool of myself. It opened my eyes to the fact that it was me, and not the club, that had gotten old. At 27, I'm a lot more comfortable in my skin. I've become less hysterical, less bitter, less dependent on the affection of others. One night at play, I saw more clearly the boys in their late teens streaming in and out, bouncing about in their cliques, making too much noise, getting too drunk. On the way to the bathroom, I saw them huddled in a corner crying, making out with a different guy than their boyfriends. I saw them acquiring the postures, learning the language, putting together the complex semiotics of gay life. It's a shitty school system, but it's the only one we've got, and play was one of the best we had. Gay men teach other gay men not how to be homosexual, but how to be gay. And when we graduate from the school of gay socialization, it's only to learn the blissfully simple point that gay people are people. And gay or not, people keep hoping, people keep thwarting, people keep going on until they learn to leave it all behind and grow up, bit by bit. Gay life is life. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind in the current epidemic of people who prefer to think otherwise. Recently, on one of the last nights I went to play before it closed, I found myself on a podium, drunk and happy, looking out across the small expanse, a wash of people seething in their emotions, melancholy, alone, lost, found, hopeful, desperate, awkward, unkissed and fucked, uninitiated. And if I felt a twinge of sadness about the club closing, it was because it made me wonder where we all go now for our fucked up educations, where we go to make stupid mistakes, act like fools, hate and love and betray and forgive, where we take our drama, where we take our silly expectations in a country with queer-oriented spaces already so far and few in between. That was the thing that was always special to me about play. It was filled with young gays figuring things out with other young gays in one giant shit show. And even if you hated it, the place brought with it a special comfort, its occasional sense of hope. But then a groove came on, the spirits kicked in, and the whole club, a haze of good feelings, bad feelings, boys, men, swelled with a rhythm of its own, almost bursting, and I stopped thinking. And the strobe lights came on, green, behind me, and I locked eyes with the kid in the crowd, and then it was gone. Thank you.